Welcome, everyone. My name is Will Wilkinson. I'll be moderating the Architects of the New Paradigm Conference, Mind Gaming on Innovation and Creativity, up in Seattle this year, March 21st, 22nd. And my guest for this interview is Richard Dolan. Welcome, Richard.
Will, thanks for having me on here. I'm happy to be here.
Well, it's great to meet you this way. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person in Seattle. Richard is among the world's leading UFO historians. You've written many classics in this field. You've worked with the National Security State, AD after disclosure. I'm just reading your bio here, and it's amazing. You've lectured all around the world, appeared widely on television, including Ancient Aliens, Hangar One, been on many documentaries. You're the writer and host of the series False Flags, and on it goes. In this conference, you're doing a lecture on future tech, dream or nightmare. That is a very evocative title. And let's start there. What do you mean by that, dream or nightmare?
Well, we all have the knowledge that we're going pedal to the metal into a very, very new future. I think everyone can recognize that it's a revolution technologically, which is driving revolutions culturally and politically and economically and financially and so forth. But it's the tech, I think, that's driving it.
Right.
And, there are the very utopian predictions that we're hearing about future tech. We can fix your genetics and make you healthier and stronger. We can make you smarter. We can provide you with nano implants in the future that will cure your cancer and also make you smarter and stronger, and all of these things that we're hearing about. Home devices and having AI in your home to organize you, all of this. So we're hearing this. And, we're hearing in terms of environmental remediation as well, coming up with new technologies to detoxify the world. And so there's a lot of really good things that I think we're learning about in terms of future tech. But there's definitely another side to it.
Well, I was going to say, as you were reciting all that, I was thinking it may just be the writer in me, but, there's always a but. Here's all the pluses. Here's
indeed.
The nirvana that technology is going to offer us, but then there's a problem that develops.
Well, there's a lot of problems, but maybe the biggest one that I can't escape in my mind is the complete and total loss of privacy. So we're going to an era where we're really already there, but it's only the germ of what will develop into something much larger, which is once we get a full head-on 5G society with even more developed artificial intelligence algorithms snaking their way through our infrastructure in every way, with all the smart devices, your smart refrigerator, your smart toaster that they can talk to each other, your smart toilet, your smart medicine cabinet. All of these things actually will be sucking data out of you. And that data obviously is going to go somewhere. Now, in different countries, that data may go to different places. In a place like China, that data is already going to centralized government places where they are now creating a complete social credit system that many people are, I think, hearing about, which will grade all Chinese residents on the basis of how good, how trustworthy the government thinks they are. Well, you can see what a genius totalitarian nightmare that will be.
Well, now, let me ask you, because you're uniquely positioned to kind of know the underbelly of this. A lot of us who are not up on this, we want our privacy, but we're kind of like, well, who cares if they know I'm playing cards with my wife at 10 p.m.? I mean, what good is my data doing them? And I think you've got a perspective. Say a little bit about the end game for this. Because it's not just about marketing stuff to us. It's much bigger than that, isn't it?
Right. Well, right. And I want to address what you're saying. In the West, the data sucking up will go partly to governments and partly to corporations to sell you better advertisement and products. Now, to the argument that, well, what do I have to worry about if I'm not doing anything wrong? This is an old argument.
Yeah, right.
Back when the USA Patriot Act was passed back in 2001 under the George W. Bush presidency, people were saying a similar thing. Well, if you haven't done anything wrong, you've got nothing to worry about.
Right.
And that's true. And if you live a life where you are ducking your head all the time, and you've got nothing to worry about. But of course, another way to look at it is that maybe the point of these types of laws. That is to create a culture by which, you realize it's the nail that sticks out that gets hammered, and
Right.
no one wants to be the nail that sticks out.
Right.
Not everyone is born to be an out-of-the-box creative thinker, and it's unfair to expect everyone to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
But there are always going to be people who are that way.
Mm-hmm.
And in a society that is now being created, and particularly with the total loss of privacy, which is happening and will accelerate, not simply due to your smart devices spying on you and reporting on your energy usage or what you say in the privacy of your living room to your TV, whatever, but also when you're out with facial recognition software and voice recognition software. All of this is now, we're at a point where this is a completely new thing in human history. So we're now going to be tracked literally 24/7 wherever we go, and there will be no escape. So that's the downside.
Yeah. Now, does this, just as you're saying this, and I'm drilling deeper into it with you, it feels, and our theme is creativity and innovation. It feels very much like this whole thing is like a shadow over our innate creativity and innovation. Like it's a suffocating pressure to be mediocre or to stay under the radar. Am I right in sensing that?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think you nailed it. And it's going to be very intense, because without privacy, I would argue, creativity will die. Without privacy, independence of thought and action will die.
Wow.
People can't, you can't have, you really cannot have a functioning free society when people don't have privacy.
Richard, this is really urgent. I mean, what do we do about this? I mean, none of us.
Well, that leads to my second lecture.
Good. Well, let's get into that, because I noticed you talk about finding your voice.
Right.
And I love the sound of that, being empowered, because this could be a real downer. But I mean, it sounds like you're going to give us something that we can do.
Yeah, I believe in that. It's funny. I have two grown children now. They're in their 20s. And they're both wonderful. But when my daughter was in her early teens, she was a bit of a challenge. We're great now, I'm very happy to say. But when my daughter was 12, 13, 14, let's just say she was tough on her dad. One day she walked into my office, and in that exasperated voice that she had a lot in those days, she just said, "Dad, why can't you be a normal dad like all the other dads that my friends have?" Yeah. And I actually laughed, just like you're laughing. I said, "Are you old enough to be doing drugs? Because that's the only reason that I can imagine you're saying this now." I said, "Are you out of your mind? Like, your dad is not a normal dad. He's never going to be normal. Right. That's just not how I am." She gets it now. I'm very happy to say. But I guess I'm saying this and telling you this story because I mean, I'm a writer, and I write about a kind of out there subject, UFOs, right? Who thinks about that? Yeah. But the point is that I have spent the last 30 plus years of my life fighting for my independence of action and thought. And it's not been easy. I tell young people, when you're in school, you're in college, you think it's tough now. You wait till you get out of school, because the pressure on you to conform, to give up thinking independently altogether will be absolutely overwhelming, right? You're going to work for a company that will want your body, they'll want your soul, they'll want your mind, they'll want you. And as life goes on, old people who are old enough understand the pressures simply to get along are overwhelming. And people, the fire that burned in you in your 20s, for a lot of people, it's sad to see, it's dead by the time that they hit 50. It's embers. It's gone. And for me,
sorry to interrupt you, but it's just so important. I mean, the two options seem to be either to sell your soul or opt out. And I'm sensing that the fight is about being able to stay engaged without losing your soul, without losing your creativity. And that's huge. That's right. I mean, it's huge, because we've got so many bright young men and women who, if they can stay engaged and not sell out or not opt out, can do a tremendous amount of good. And I'm assuming that this is the kind of audience you want to be speaking to.
I believe, yes. I want to speak to people who want to retain some semblance of independence in their lives. So the way that I think about it is there's a few realms of independence that are critical. So there's thinking, there's the realm of thinking. And for that, one really important thing people are going to have to learn to do is unplug from their tech and unplug from their social media. Not all the time, but it's got to be done.
Yeah.
There have been way too many studies now. It's been proven over and over that the more Facebook time you have, the less happy you're going to be. So let's just learn the lesson and do it. That's not real life. It's not that you should never do that sort of thing, but I think that there is an inverse relationship there. And the problem with the social media is it absolutely damages relationships. It absolutely undermines committed relationships by which we get the most satisfaction that we're going to get in our life. But it also undermines our independence of thought, because what we can all see with Facebook and Twitter and the social media is the mob mentality that develops all too easily. So, I mean, you have to clear out a space, a quiet space. Some people meditate, some people will read, but whatever it is, we need to have that. Now, another thing we need to work on, I feel, is financial independence. I've never somehow been able to live my life without working for a large company or corporation. I've never had to do it.
That's rare.
It's tough.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying everyone has to do that, but there was a book I read back in like the early 90s called Making a Living Without a Job. I can't even remember the author's name, but she was a very, very smart person. And what she taught me was a state of mind by which you think of developing profit centers of your life, by which you're controlling your own destiny. So what can you do by which you can make $100? She said. Right. Think about that. So what service can you provide? What can you do? Yeah. And it got me in the mode of thinking at an early enough age. I was still in my 20s, I think. I started, as a kid, I never thought that I was going to be some businessman. To me, that was the most boring thing to imagine. Right. But here I am now working for myself, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah. It's stressful, but it's also where I can get some freedom. There are other ways of developing independence. In fact, I had a little list, and I've got it right in front of me, so why not just use it?
Sure.
Oh, yes. I want to talk about child rearing. For those of you out there who are young parents, one of the things that has been very clear, and I've actually engaged in psychological studies and read a lot of the academic literature on this. The newest generations are measurably less creative, are measurably less empathetic, measurably less out-of-the-box type of thinkers than prior generations. There is enough academic research done on this that I think we really have to consider that this is probably true.
Now, is this worldwide, or are you speaking about America?
Western societies.
Western, yeah.
Is where this is being done, yeah. And it might even just be U.S., but I'll need to revisit that. But I think one of the biggest problems that you see with kids these days is that they're not permitted unstructured playtime.
Yeah.
Yep. You can meet a 10-year-old kid these days that probably has had maybe not more than 10 hours of completely being alone, left to play on their own with their friends. Like, it's that bad.
Yeah. Well, and I understand that there is a connection between the lack of playtime and the lack of empathy. That if
yes,
children don't,
absolutely, it's 100% because
empathy.
Absolutely, because when kids are playing on their own, they've got to fix their own problems. Yeah. And by resolving their own problems, that means they have to look at the other kids in the eye, and they learn that they can't be a tyrant. Like a child can be a tyrant in their home when they're the only kid there, and mom and dad are like, "Oh, my little prince or princess, whatever you want." That's a child that grows up to be brittle and doesn't know how to deal with things. Yeah. When kids are out on their own, they create problems. I sure did. But then they've got to fix those problems. Yeah. Yeah. And that's when you learn. And that's how you grow strong as well as a psychological being who's got to learn that not everyone's going to like me if I'm a complete ass.
Right.
I have to learn. And so unstructured playtime has been absolutely removed from the youngest generation. And I am convinced there will one day, the time will come when future generations look back at what we're doing now to these children, and they will see just how horrible it is. But I'm mentioning it here because unstructured playtime is important for kids, and it's important for adults too.
Right.
You know, all of these things that I'm saying, unplugging from Facebook and getting engaged with actual people. Like, to me, this is how we have to reclaim and develop our actual humanity.
Yeah.
Because
by being real humans with each other.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're transforming our society in a way like I don't think people planned this. Even the evil masters of our universe who run the Bilderberg meetings, I doubt that they could fully foresee the kind of world that is now creating, that they're creating. And it's a bit by design and it's a bit by default.
Yeah,
the way that our structure.
Question I had for you, whether there's some design to this. Richard, we just have a couple of minutes left here, and I'd like to conclude with some thoughts from you on what people who attend your Sunday afternoon intensive are likely to experience. They are aimed to be experiential. So where are you going to take us during your intensive?
I want to teach some lessons, and I want to show people how they actually can practically achieve some measure of independence, of thought, of action, and even, yes, of finance in their lives. Because if you don't have financial freedom, a lot of these other things don't matter. We tend to forget this. Like we tend to push this aside, but it's very important. So yes, I've been thinking about this a lot. I've been living this at my very modest level for about 3 decades. And I do have some ideas on how I can share some of what I have learned for individuals who are, because what we're doing is we're right at the cliff. And the cliff is the transformation of our society into something that no one has any roadmap for. And so what we need to do is understand who we are better than ever. We need to understand our own humanity. That means embrace what's coming, but you better be the master of it, and don't let it be your master. So what I want to do is to lay out a program for individuals who are attending to arm them. That's the best way I can put it, with enough knowledge, and so that they leave at least with the consciousness that they are entering a world that is going to work very, very hard to remove the last vestige of their creativity and independence. And that sounds extreme, but it's not extreme. Not everyone cares about these things. Not everyone wants to be a creative, out-of-the-box, independent person. Some people are very happy, and I'm not even criticizing that. Most of those folks I grew up with. Most of those people were family members that I love dearly. But I wasn't like that. I suspect you're not like that, and I suspect the people attending are not like that. So
no, not at all. I think that's who we are deliberately reaching out to. And I just want to really take my hat off to you, because I feel I'm meeting someone who's been in the trenches. You've caught an awareness from your 30 years of experience that I certainly don't have. And you've seen enough to make you really depressed, and yet you're not.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
You know, in the midst of all that you know, you're hopeful. And what a gift to those of us who'll be able to be with you in Seattle, that knowing what you know and knowing what we can still feel hopeful, and you're laughing right now. So what a great sign that is. Thank you.
Well, you laugh in the face of adversity. It's not helpful to pretend that there are no problems. It's not helpful to say, oh, I'm just going to think them all away.
Yeah.
That's a bad way to go through life, because reality doesn't care about that. It will come back at you.
Yeah.
But so what I like to do is you stare it down, understand that human beings throughout our entire long, long history have faced catastrophe over and over again. But we're no different.
Right.
This is, now we have our own challenges.
Yeah.
So let's not run away from them. And let's not pretend that they won't be difficult, but we can absolutely live fulfilling, happy lives that are worth living. So yes, I want to continue doing that for myself. And if I can help anyone else, then I'm happy.
Well, what a hopeful message. Thank you so much. My guest is Richard Dolan, and Richard is one of the presenters at the Architects of the New Paradigm Conference in Seattle, March 21st, 22nd. All the information is on the website, anpconference.com. Thanks again, Richard, for being with us.
Thank you, Will.
And I look forward to meeting you in Seattle and everyone who's going to jump into the trenches with you and learn how to fight the good fight.
You bet. Thank you.
See you up there. Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you in Seattle.